So, good evening, friends. On the eve of our Independence Day, so we are going to have a special session. We are going to discuss the Vision 2050 because, as we all know, that India is going to be one of the major force in the world, and SME is going to play very important role in that. In case that SME is more or less playing the very important role in all economies, but India has got more importance because the SMEs are going to fuel the growth in Indian economy and Indian GDP. So we're going to discuss certain points on the eve of our Independence Day. And let me introduce Mr. Abid Mojumdar. He is the founder director of the Idea Factory Consulting. Is with us. He is going to share his view and also the organization that he is running. And myself, TUHIN MUKHARJEE, I am founder director of iSTRATEGIC Consulting. So both of us will be sharing our view on the topic Vision 2050. So the first point that come to my mind is that what could be the instrumental changes in the SME next 25 years? It's very important because today we are banking on the SME because SMEs are going to be the central or the pivotal force. So there will be many changes. There will be many instrumental changes. So we need to understand that what kind of the significance we will have in future. First thing is that SMEs are means the growth engine for any economy. So from regarding the point of the employment, I think that in next coming decades, there will be no job security, not even the government sector. Because the way we are doing that, we think that we have a secure job if we start, if we have an employment. But that is not going to be the future, that is not going to be the trend in the future. There will be no job security, and the more people will come into will start an entrepreneurial journey. So that is why that SMEs are going to play very important role because we have seen that in our last after getting the independence, India actually was focusing on the heavy industrialization. That is why we have seen that various Navaratnas came. But now the thing is that the momentum has been changed. Now we are finding so many economies, so many small organizations, and people are preferring to be entrepreneur rather than getting employed somewhere else or the big organizations. And next 25 years, this trend is going to play a very important role. As we know that we are having many unicorns, we are having more than 100 unicorns in India, and we are going to have many unicorns in the future. So there will be no job security. That is why more and more people are going to come in this kind of the entrepreneurial journey. That is why we will see that more SMEs and less dependence on the government job also, because we have seen the past the people are actually preferring the government job. But in the coming days, that it is the kind of the thing that where the people will not be depending on the government job, because government also is going to change the kind of the work environment and the structure they are following right now. Government also will be offering this kind of the corporate kind of the setup, and they'll be more conscious of the effectiveness and the profitability in case of the PSUs as well. So I think this is are the trend is going to be next 25 years, where the SMEs are going to be in the fashion, and the more and more educated people, or even that people normal the population are going to be in the part of the SME, and they are going to start that entrepreneurial journey. And that is the kind of the clear picture that we are getting right now. And after 25 years, that will have a kind of the things we will find so many SMEs. India will be full of the SMEs like we actually know that China is having right now. So this is a kind of the trend, I think, and I'm very optimistic that next 25 years we'll be having more global organization. Our SMEs are going to make the global footprint. Now, my next question to Mr. Majumdar means, what do you think? What should be the vision by 2050?
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee, for this good introduction of our topic today. As already spoken by Mr. Mukherjee, Today's session is very special because we are standing on the eve of the Independence Day. We have come a long way for about 75 years, and we are looking at the next 25 years. We are very excited because for the first time, the country is talking for a very long horizon of 25 years. And as strategy professionals, we are very excited because we believe that real growth or phenomenal growth can happen over the long term. So we are a very, we support this Azadi Ka Amritsar journey of 25 years from 2022 to 2047 or 2050. We are actually talking about 2050 figures at this point in time. And currently we have been, we have come a long way, okay, in the last 75 years. But in the last 5 years, we have also lost a lot in terms of lives, in terms of job opportunities, in terms of our growth opportunities. There has been a lot. So obviously, those of us who have survived the COVID, they are looking in the forward days with a lot of hope and optimism, and we believe we can enable the country to grow beyond the normal situation. So today we are in a very we are hopeful that the country will be going forward in the year 2050. In fact, the GDP estimates in 2022 is about $3.3 billion, and we are talking of $30 billion in 2050, which is about 9 times the growth from where we are today, which is a huge, stupendous growth. At the same time, if we are standing today, we are talking about 30% contribution of the GDP by MSME group, MSME sector. Going forward, we are even talking of 50% growth of the country or contribution by the MSME sector for the growth of the nation. So, as rightly spoken about by Mr. Mukherjee, that the small and medium enterprises will be a great engine of growth in the next few decades because the country will have more and more entrepreneurial people joining the bandwagon to start things on their own when the job climate is not very stable. And this will itself create a lot of jobs which will cater to the domestic market. So instead of depending upon the outside economies for jobs, we are becoming more and more self-reliant or Atmanirbhar Bharat. So both of them come together, and Atmanirbhar Bharat, the MSME is actually a solution to our own Atmanirbhar Bharat, and more jobs will be created within this system. So there's a great change out here. In terms of the vision that we have, we hope that we create a big global organization in these 25 years is a very long time, okay? And within these 25 years, the MSMEs of today are, we are hopeful that these become global MNCs. There are big MNCs of India that we can be proudly talking of. We can talk of Bharti Airtel, we can talk of TCS, we can talk of Infosys, and so many. Today we are talking of Byju's as well. Each of them are true MNCs, and we hope more and more MNCs come out from India, from within the MSME sector that we are talking today. Of course, more and more MSMEs will be coming out, and let's hope that we as a country, we become proud of our MSMEs who will fuel the growth of the country in the next few decades. I think this is on a very top level about the vision. We are hopeful that India will stand on its own feet, and we will be able to be a very strong global player in the coming decades. My next question to Mr. Mukherjee is, Mr. Mukherjee, how can we utilize the demographic dividend in the coming decades?
That is very important for all of us to understand demographic dividend, because as we know that China has got a huge advantage in manufacturing sector right now. Why? Because the China has got the highest number of the population in the world. Still, they are using their population, and they are becoming more or less self-reliant, and they are using in a such a way they are becoming number one in manufacturing areas. So today we see that most of the organization, starting the mobile to any electronic goods, even defense, are getting outsourced to China. Because whatever the mobiles we are getting, all the all the mobile companies are basically Chinese organization. We are getting OEM. We are basically getting the OEM. Those parts are getting assembled and getting sold in India or around the world. Even some of the countries are outsourcing their defense system. Then even the most crucial part for a country is that defense part. Even those things are also getting outsourced. So China is using their population, huge population. Now it is India's turn, because most of the countries in the world are having the aging population. Japan is having the aging population. They are the highest, basically having the aging population. But India has got the youngest population in the world. If you see the India's total population, where the people are between 30 to 40, they are having the maximum number of the population, or less than that also. Young people are there in India. So this is basically the demographic dividend, demographic profile. Now this demographic profile we need to use in a such a way that pay that dividend to us, and that will pay. Because if you are actually aiming to have a more number of the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, we need to have more number of the young people coming into this. Because SMEs are always the characteristics of the SME owners are that they should take the risk, because risk taking capacity is the first or the number one characteristics of any SME owner.
Right. I think as Mr. Mukherjee comes back, let us also continue the discussion a bit forward.
So India is going to utilize the demographic dividend. I am sure that by 2050, India is going to have a massive kind of the youngest population, capital, basically the youngest population with a global hunger and ambition. They'll make a global footprint. So that is the young demographic dividend that we are looking for, and I am very much sure and also optimistic that India is going to have a very special kind of the position by 2050, with having the highest number of the youngest population in the world. My next question to Mr. Majumdar that what are the challenges in making Indian SMEs into global corporations?
Right. I think, Mr. Mukherjee, let me also, we have come a long way. And today, when we are focusing on MSME, in India, MSME sector is in the spotlight. So there are a lot of things that are happening which are in favor of MSMEs. The government has put up a special division for the growth of the MSME. Special grants and credits are being put where special recognition is being given to MSMEs. In fact, there are so many, SME incubators that are happening in the colleges as well as in the industry forums, where the ecosystem is helping the smaller businesses to grow beyond it. Most of these SMEs today have a technology focus. The fintech, the agri-tech, and there are so many technology driven sectors that are getting a lot of focus. They are easily getting funded, they are getting incubated, and more or less they are going forward. In fact, even in the last discussion we had talked about T-Hub, which is a technology hub that is being developed in Hyderabad, which is called the highest innovation, which is the largest innovation campus in the world, and is incubating about 10,000 startups within Hyderabad and of course across the country, with international connections and building up an ecosystem around the startup in the form of the mentors, in forms of the government support, in terms of funding, in terms of customers. So the entire ecosystem support is being given by this hub, and so we are currently in a very very favorable position, and things are improving for the MSME sector. Having said that, yet there are quite a few challenges for MSMEs, especially as we come out of COVID, because the world has completely changed. Even if you put in so much of support, you know that your customer base is very difficult to get. So those who had planned X number of customers before COVID had to redefine the entire customer base, and going through an entire refined business model after the COVID. So, and as per the studies that have been done, out of 10 startups, only one of them survives, while the remaining 9 of them cannot go beyond the threshold period. So there are so many challenges for the startups to go beyond it. First of all, to just to reach the threshold level of the startup, wherein you after some time you enjoy the economies of scale, but to reach that level, the SME has to go through so many problems. They are already in a catch 22 situation, because there is a funds crunch, and also there is a need to reach out to the market and get noticed in the market. So either you get noticed in the market first and then prepare your fund base, or you put in your money first and then go to the market. There is a huge rush to get funded. Most of the MSMEs are in a very high rush to get funded, and in the process they are giving out their control over to the investors whose passion for the business are not as much as the entrepreneur. And in the process, there's a lot of tussle between the entrepreneur and the angel investors. There are instances where the entrepreneur himself has come out of the business over 3 or 4 years of time, and that puts the entire planning of the MSME long-term plan in a jeopardy, because now it has been taken over by a group of people whose definition of the company might be completely different from the definition of the company or origin company. So there are many challenges in terms of the funding, in terms of branding, in terms of reaching out to the customers. Also, the more, as much as you can support your customers, every support has a cost element. So of course you cannot go overboard to support your customer, and at the same time there could be an understanding gap or an expectation gap between the customer, and thereby neither you can fill up the expectation gap of the customer, nor you can put on the extra cost to reach out to that. But at the same time, because we are in a technological age where technology is completely redefined the business model, we would definitely be, we are hopeful that technology will be a solution to many of the problems that MSMEs have, and instead of investing on brick and mortar on physical assets, technology will be a savior for many of the startups that we are talking of. Having said that, today the funding part is drying up, because they have become very wary of startups who are not able to be profitable in 3 years, 4 years time. And there have been reported of malpractices in startups, which are again sub judice. But there are stories where the entrepreneur has booked more funds in his pocket than applying it back into the organization, and that has created a lot of tussle. So here also we are in a position where we are defining best practices or ethical business practices for startups, because they are very vulnerable. They may not be able to reach to that global level. And whenever you have to reach to a global level like an MNC that we are feeling today, it is absolutely a distributed model. It doesn't become an entrepreneur. Whatever MNCs that come over to India, they are so distributed. They have so many layers of reportings in terms of the CXOs, the second level, the vice presidents, and so much. So the original entrepreneur has to put such systems and structures in place and slowly move away from the operational model of the business, which is a very difficult task. And at what point he's going to do it, and at what point the funding is to be taken, at what stake control. So there are so many questions that every startup is facing, and every startup has to cross that hurdle to go to the next table. Only when it goes higher, they will be able to enjoy the economies of scale. Having said that, there are so many models already available in India, because we are talking of Bharti Airtel, we are talking of TCS, we are talking of Infosys, and so many big companies who have ethical business practices, and we can follow them, study them, and maybe take a lot of learnings out of them and apply in today's scenario. And that may give a lot of support or a direction to the startup from today to the situation of being a global MNC. It's a lot of challenge, but we are hopeful. We believe that today's MSMEs will become global MNCs in the next 25 years. Having said that, my next question to Mr. Mukherjee is, Mr. Mukherjee, what do you foresee as the income level, inflation, and standard of living by 2050?
Yeah, this is very important because as means we are actually in a means we are living in a such an economy where there will be a higher side on the inflation. The inflation will be high in coming years because as we know that when there is a growth in any economy means inflation is going to be high. There is no other way out because if you want to keep the inflation down, there will be no growth. But there could be expectation as well. So what I think that as the more and more people are going, young people are going to start their entrepreneurial journey, there will be more consumption. And as such, when there is more consumption, there will be demand. And demand supply will rest in a such a way that inflation will be on the higher side. This is purely my assumption. This is purely my assumption that there has to be high inflation in coming years, and there will be also the growth. Because there are some economists and some other people who are countering this point. They say that inflation is bad or the inflation will harm in the future. I think the government is reducing, and government is going to reduce the subsidies. Whatever the subsidies they are providing now, providing to many utility services to the people, they will be reducing, and there will be more actually consumption, and the inflation will be on the higher side. Simultaneously, there will be actually more demand for the various type of luxurious product, and the lifestyle or the standard of the living will be on the higher side, or the standard of living will be better. That's my assumption because the kind of the scenario where we are living right now is this demarcation between the rural, semi-rural, rural, or the urban. Though this actually line of the distinctions are getting marginalized slowly, but after 25 years or within 25 years, we will be seeing that this line of the distinction will also be thin and the linear, and there will be more number of the people will join the entrepreneurial journey, and there will be more number of means lifestyle is going to be better, standard of the living will be much better even in the rural and
Right. To continue the discussion of ahead of the
so the urbanization actually is taking place right now, that urbanization will not take place, and there will be much better life. That is totally my assumption. And what I think that after 25 years, this is going to be the picture. Because there are so many argument against that. This is the kind of the thing. There will be high inflation, but still better standard of the living. There will be the there will be the less kind of the diminution or dissimilarities between the village, and definitely the people will have will enjoy the better lifestyle. So this is a kind of the my assumption. What I think that is going to, that is how the India is going to be a much better player, or India is going to emerge as a better player in future. So my next part, as he is the founder director of the Idea Factory. So in this regard, how Idea Factory is going to help the SMEs, because that is very important, that what he is thinking and what is actually strategy to help the SME business owners.
Right. I think this is a very pertinent question after where we are standing today, and whatever role are we playing in terms of shaping up the MSME business in India, because there are so many queries or challenges that SMEs are facing today, and whether we do play a role in solving some of the problems and hand holding them to go go ahead in the coming decade. So yes, the Idea Factory has a very strong role to play, because as a strategy consulting organization, we are looking at the MSME sector very closely. We are observing them, and at the same time, we are even advising them on various aspects of products and services. Now, we have right from the beginning, we have always focused on the fact that MSMEs need to have a better business model than existing organizations. Why? Because they have already seen the existing business model, and with that as the reference point, the overall business model of the MSME has to be better. The product has to be better. The revenue plan has to be better. The realization has to be better. The employee strength also, quality of talent has to be better, and the overall scheme of things has to be better. We understand that to get the right talent for MSME is a challenge, because they don't get they are not the best paymasters, and obviously they will not be able to attract the talent which an MNC or a bigger organization will come. But at the same time, they also have certain advantages in terms of better job profile, better exploratory mindset, and risk-taking capabilities, which will attract a lot of people who will be joining the organization. So putting that forth, we are working on. There are some innovative models that we have already discussed before, and we will continue to discuss, in which the MSME sector will keep. First of all, we have to believe that MSME, the main person or the main entrepreneur, has to believe in the product, in the service, in the offering that it has to the market. And though it might be a struggle to reach out to the market, there are people to support you, but you have to be the main most confident person in the ecosystem, and there will be no dearth of people to support you. For example, as we talked about in the previous question also, those who are investing in the business are definitely people who are believing in the passion and the dream of the entrepreneur. Similarly, there are mentors, there are ecosystem people who are going to help you go the journey, but then that risk also has to be taken. So similarly, we are Idea Factory also as a guiding factor, and we are guiding the MSME through various training programs, through our advisory services, through our consulting programs, through which we are going to show a result to them. So while we focus on them, we look at the challenge and we look at the organization in totality, and bring in a lot of innovative ideas and thoughts into the whole plan, and also work with them towards the implementation of the plan. So obviously the MSME slowly becomes a more innovative organization, and maintain their innovative streak. It also means that the MSME is more stronger in terms of establishing their patent or trademarks or whatever there is required in the industry, develops the industry, and have the has the steam to take it forward from a small organization to be a bigger organization. Of course, everybody cannot run so fast, because it depends upon the amount of money that you have in your pocket. Those who have a large, those who have deep pockets can run faster. Those who do not have deep pockets will be able to run slower. But nevertheless, even if you serve 100 customers, your support of the 100 customers has to be better than what is available in the market. And thereby your business model has to be very stronger. I think these are some of the thoughts. There are more innovative thoughts that we have, and we have been giving out in our various programs, and we have dedicated programs for our clients to support them through innovative ideas. My of course, Mr. Mukherjee, the question comes back to you. How does iSTRATEGIC support the MSME sector in the coming decade, or in the next 25 years?
Yes, basically, iSTRATEGIC is also specialized in providing consulting and the training to the SMEs. Their purpose means that why they are running the organization. Making profit, or is it only servicing to the society? So coupled with that, we actually clarify his vision as to why they are actually running the organization. This is a very important part, a purpose of existence. Second is that we help the business owner to strategize, making the structure and making overall sustainable organizations. There are so many parts that where we deal. and we make sure the organization becomes more sustainable, they become competitive, and they can have a very good profitability. Because profit is such a thing that we cannot ignore. If there is no profit, so I think that it's not possible to run our organization for longer period of time. So all this kind of the thing that we actually try to make an organization more sustainable, competitive, and means help them to emerge as a winner or the bigger player in their area. So that's the kind of the holistic service we offer. Coupled with that, we also help the business owner, because most of the SMEs or MSMEs are driven by business owners, basically, or the promoters. We also have the promoters and the personally. So how to actually handle various kind of the other aspects of the business and the personal life. Because if their personal life is disturbed, probably the business will also be disturbed, because most of the shows are basically governed or run by the business owner. So in that case, we understand that the importance of the promoter or the business owner. So in that case, we also help them to realize the purpose and also solve basically various kind of the personal issues which might affect the business performance. So that is the kind of the service that we provide. So in this discussion, we actually discussed lot many points, and I would like to request Mr. Majumdar to conclude the session.
Right. As we have, covered various aspects of the, MSME sector as of today, and how do we see in the next 25 years. I think what is coming out is that MSME sector is a strong force for the development of the nation, and they will continue to contribute 30 to 50% of the GDP. So obviously that remains a very strong power of the MSME sector to bring about the change. And when we are talking about the change, we are talking of innovation, we are talking of technology. Only new organizations can bring the kind of change that we are talking of, based on whatever is already available. So on one side, we already have the MNCs or the bigger organizations of today. On the other hand, the MSMEs are the experimental ones. We are going to bring out better and better solutions. So the whole world is getting more and more interconnected. We are no longer restricted by our place. We are no longer restricted by the time. We are no longer restricted by any factor other than the talent. In the process, what happens, we are also moving towards an talent driven economy. So the real fight is about the talent or the knowledge or the innovation that the MSME offers, and the persistence of the entrepreneur to take it forward. So there will be challenges. There are people to help. We are there to help in terms of the challenges, and therefore, we hope that the MSME will continue to be a very strong factor. And tomorrow, let us all work together to make bigger and better unicorns of India, and tomorrow, so that we can proud of the MSMEs from today onwards. I think that is how it is. A lot of best wishes for the Independence Day tomorrow, and signing off from Idea Factory and iSTRATEGIC Consulting from Abir Muzumdar and Mr. TUHIN Mukherjee. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.